It's called the Boatman. It was spring when the boatman dreamed his canoe. He tore bark off a spruce tree, threw it in the water, jumped over it, and then followed it down the stream where it sank to the bottom. Next, he pulled the bark off the paper birch. He threw it in the water, jumped over it, and followed it down the stream. It floated perfectly. Next, he climbed up to the top of a tall spruce tree, lay down among the branches, and went to sleep. At the bottom of the tree, the bark began to form itself into a canoe. A second night, the boatman slept, and when he woke up, he found the canoe all made. But when he put it in the water, it sank. The boatman climbed up his tree again and passed a third night. And the following day, the canoe was caulked and ready with a sail. He got into it and descended the river. At the beginning of the world, the otter and the mouse lived together, they say. When the boatman arrived at their home, Otter served him pounded dry meat like red powder. It was human flesh, pulverized and dried by the mouse. Then Otter said, "You must not drink the water of the river, but only the water of a fast stream that flows into it." The boatman got back into his canoe and went down the river while the otter ran along the bank. "Is it here, the stream?" "No, lower down." "Is it this little river here?" "No, much further down." Soon the river was choked with rotting corpses, skulls, bones of the dead, all floating. And Otter still ran along the bank of the river. And the boatman came paddling after him, paddling through the islands of corpses. At last he lay down on the riverbank and slept for a long time. While he was sleeping, the otter and the mouse entered his body by the rectum. When the boatman woke up, cut a willow branch and fastened a loop to it. With that, he drew otter and mouse back out of his body, which explains their ship-covered fur and the way they stink. Way down there at the bottom of the river lived the violent one with his wife and his daughter. The boatman went into the home of the giant. He installed himself there without asking and sat for many days beside the wife. The wife said to the boatman, "If the wind turns from this side here, it will be my husband coming." Soon the wind came up, and the boatman left in a hurry, pursued by the dogs of the violent one who bayed for his death. But first, he killed the wife. Then he climbed up a spruce tree and pissed. A great flood arose, and he pushed the daughter into it. She floated off down the river and was drowned. The boatman jumped back into his canoe, which rocked on the water. Such waves rose up that the whole earth was covered. The water roared, the torrents growled, the canoe of the navigator was swamped, and it sank. The boatman floated on down, clutching a hollow straw. Suddenly, he saw a hydra lying jaws wide, receiving in its maw all the waters of the stream. The current in that place was violent, and there was no escape. The boatman was drawn into the mouth of the sea monster and went right through its body on the current of the water, and came out the back passage. This was his last adventure as a boatman. He landed in a high place on the dry land. The boatman went in search of men who had survived the flood. There was no one to be seen. Only Raven, perching on a high rock, looking well-fed, slept on one foot. The boatman took a bag in his hand, climbed up the rock, where he surprised Raven in his sleep and stuffed him into the bag. Then Raven said to him, "Don't throw me down off this rock. If you do that, all the men on earth will disappear, and you will find yourself alone." The boatman threw him down and left the bones strewn at the base of the mountain. Soon he thought he heard the sound of the voices of men playing games during the night, for it was the time when the sun never goes down. He traveled far and wide looking for returned to the body of the raven, whose blanched bones lay strewn at the foot of the mountain. He gathered them up and put them back together as well as he could and spread the skin over them. Then he farted over them. Immediately, the raven came back to life. He was not able to recover one of the fingers of the raven, who was revived with only 3 claws on its foot. Or maybe it wasn't Raven's finger, but another important little appendage of the raven. Then they went down to the beach where 2 huge fish, a pike and a losh, slept in the sun, their bellies lying on the mud, and Raven said to the boatman, "You pierce the belly of the pike, while I do the same to the losh." The boatman pierced the belly of the pike, and all the missing men came out of it. The raven did the same with the losh, and all the women came out of that. So that was the way men came back into the world, they say.